Welcome to SportsZone. I am Jocelyn Mitchell, and we are live at the North Texas studios. We have tons of good topics to cover: Rangers opening series, our Mean Green report, and of course, our Mean Green drill. But first, let's talk about the NCAA Championship game on Monday. North Carolina has won their 6th NCAA title against the Gonzaga Bulldogs with a final score of 71-65. To help me break this game down, I have Kennedy Miller and Ronald Ephraim. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Here.
So, before we get started, we're going to talk about a couple questions first. With this being Gonzaga's first time in the championship, did you guys think they had it? I mean, maybe you wanted some fresh blood, or did you think North Carolina had this in the bag the entire time?
Well, personally, I was rooting for Gonzaga because of, like you said, their new experience in the national tournament. I thought, however, that North Carolina would eventually take the cake because of their veteran experience. They're not a typical college basketball team, not a lot of one-and-done freshmen. They have seniors on that team who experienced a loss last year, and they came back ready to avenge it.
Yeah, I was pretty confident North Carolina would win the game. You know, I think it would have been nice for Gonzaga to win, for a new face to finally take charge of the NCAA. However, I feel like the situation that North Carolina was in last year, as they lost to Villanova on the last second of the game, I feel like that really humbled them and showed them that this opportunity can be taken from them like that. So I feel like with that in mind, they were very hungry, and they came into this game not accepting anything other than a win.
I mean, it's one thing to lose from like a blowout, but if you lose like 2 seconds in the game versus Villanova, you thought you had it, or at least thought you was going to overtime, yeah. Yep. I mean, Jordan was probably really upset, but at least he's happy now.
For sure.
The next question I have for you guys is, how about those refs? I mean, did you think they were calling unnecessary calls? Were they interfering too much? What do you think?
Well, the thing is, the refs were bad, but they weren't biased one way. They were bad both ways. It was a lot of bad calls. Both teams were in the bonus with less than 15 minutes left in the second half. So it was a lot of unnecessary free throw shooting. It was a lot of reviews where to see who it was out on, to see if it was a flagrant foul on Karnowski. A lot of things that prolonged the game that casual fans just want to see some good basketball being played. And let's just see who wins it, player to player.
Yeah, like Kennedy said, there was a lot of bad calls going both ways, but I feel like it was just too soft. I feel like in a game of that stature, you got to let the players play. You know, they're putting their all on the line, and you just got to let them do their thing. You know, you can't be the one to make the decision who wins the game. Let the kids make the decision who wins the game.
You're right, you're right. Now, let's get into the good stuff. Is there any plays that you guys wanted to break down that maybe Gonzaga should have done better, or that you saw and you knew right then, okay, North Carolina, they're about to win this?
Well, as we look on the screen, both teams were pretty evenly matched throughout the entire game. There was, you know, some teams took the lead. Gonzaga took the lead early, and then North Carolina ended up taking the lead. But one play that I want to point out, because when it came down to it, you see here that Joel Berry knocks down this shot to give North Carolina to take back the lead in the second half. And one thing I see is Nigel Williams-Goss, he suffered an ankle injury before and had scored the last 8 points for Gonzaga and ended up getting his shot blocked there. It seemed like he couldn't get enough lift on that ankle. And so I think that's one of the biggest play, if not the biggest play, that cost Gonzaga the game.
Yeah, that was definitely a very crucial play. For me, however, the biggest play was towards the end of the first half when big man Kennedy Meeks finally showed up, big man Mr. Karnowski for Gonzaga. You know, throughout the whole tournament, Mr. Karnowski hasn't really had anybody challenge him, but in this game, Kennedy Meeks said he's had enough of that, and he took him to the paint, scored on him, and you know, like I said, Karnowski hasn't really had any of that. So when I saw that, that let me know, okay, yeah, North Carolina, they're not accepting anything other than a win.
Now, Meeks is a pretty big guy. I saw in the Oregon game that he was handling business, which advanced them to the next round because he just jumped over their only big guy and helped them win. But maybe that's just my opinion of being an MVP. Who do you guys think will be the MVP?
I got to say the MVP of this game would have to be Joel Berry. You know, he had the most points in the game. He was the only player on the team to hit a three-pointer, hitting 4 of them. He also played the most amount of time on the team in that game. So I feel like he contributed the most for the winning team. I feel like it's a no-brainer. He should be the MVP of the game.
Well, it's a no-brainer that Joe Berry is the MVP, as he was named the MOP of the game. And it's also not a question about Kennedy Meeks' value to the team. And what not when you're named Kennedy. You know, it just breathes success.
It's a good name.
But
good name.
thank you so much. But the MVP for me, for the entire tournament, would have to be Justin Jackson, and the way that he played. His hot shooting led them to this championship game, and if it weren't for him, then Joe Barry and Kennedy Meeks wouldn't have been able to put the icing on the cake for this championship run for North Carolina.
I think that's a very good point that you brought up, especially because of the name Kennedy. It is a coincidence. Thank you guys so much for all the help you have done, and congratulations to the Tar Heels for winning their 6th title, and also to South Carolina women's basketball team on their very first national win. Coming up next, our Mean Green report from Tyler Perkins. So stay tuned.
We apologize for those technical difficulties. The North Texas swim and dive team made big waves in Conference USA this season, finishing 4th at the CUSA tournament. The team had one of its best seasons in program history as well, finishing with 4 NCAA B-cut swimmers. I was able to catch up with Coach Roth and the team about the season, and she was very pleased with the result and with the progression of the program.
We had 2 different girls break school records just in the middle of the year. I think we had about 90 personal bests happen at that meet, which was really exciting, especially for November. And then from there, we actually took 4 girls to Atlanta, Georgia for USA Winter Nationals, which that's the first time North Texas has ever sent a group to compete at Winter Nationals. And the girls did amazing. They were finalists. I think Sarah even won her heat in finals. It was a really great experience, especially since that's where we have our conference championship, to give them an opportunity to race in that facility.
They didn't just get to the level they are by accident. It takes dedication through year-round practices and training. Team member Michaela Cornelson described to me the challenging daily routine the team must go through. She said that waking up at 6 a.m. every day, practicing 3 times a day, and still having to deal with school is grueling, but Cornelson said that her and her teammates embrace the challenge and try to push through it to get better. Now, with a successful season behind them, the team will shift into the offseason with a main goal of doing the little things to reach even greater heights next year.
I think working throughout the year and reaching our goals, try to practice as much as we can through practice and working on our strokes. It's also good to have video cameras as well to see our defaults and our strokes.
Well, the name of the game in swimming is always, can you beat who you were yesterday? And nobody wants to chase times from when they were 10 years old. And so it's always about getting out of your comfort zone and doing the things that are uncomfortable, that don't come naturally to you. And that's what we love about spring training and about the summer season, is that, you know, our challenge to our team was, for the next 3 weeks, what are you going to change in your swimming? What are you planning on doing? What do you want to come in the fall better than what you left here?
Going through on off season, it requires a lot of motivation, like self-motivation, because people go back home, so everybody, everywhere in the world. And if everybody keep practicing and be serious as much as we did during season, and coming back in August, beginning of next season, we're gonna crush it, and we're gonna come back as even stronger than we ended up last.
All 4 B-cut swimmers will be returning for UNT next season and look forward to improve their times in hopes of reaching the NCAA tournament. It's safe to say that the future looks very bright for North Texas Swim and Dive. Coming up, we'll talk about the start of a new season of Rangers baseball, as well as the end of the Tony Roma era in Big D.
Welcome back inside the North Texas studios. We are back at the desk to discuss some Rangers baseball. I'm Eric Chiofalo alongside Peyton Russell and Brady Pointer. Gentlemen, how was your opening day? Did you get to go to the ballpark or anything? Enjoy some hot dogs?
I was at the ballpark.
Oh, were you really?
I was. I got to cover the game for KNTU, so I was up in the press box. No free food.
Really?
Popcorn and water was what I was limited to.
Oh, that is shameful.
But that's all right. I had lots of popcorn for dinner, and it was fun.
All right, very good, very good. Well, before we get to this series with the Cleveland Indians, let's look back. A few weeks ago, we talked about the Rangers, the depth chart that they were thinking about putting together with the infield. There were a lot of names there. What did they end up doing with the lineup or with the depth chart there in the infield, and do you like what they did?
I mean, I honestly didn't see too much of a choice. I mean, of course, Napoli's your first baseman, Odor's second baseman, Elvis is your shortstop, and then you got Adrian Beltre is the guy that you want at third. but of course he's hurt right now. So we have to go with Joey Gallo, which, I mean, Gallo's serviceable. I mean, he strikes out a lot, which is his biggest issue. But in that, he did hit a monster bomb. I was at the game last night, and he hit a monster bomb halfway up the second deck. So that is the plus side with having Gallo in the lineup, is that he does hit the ball a really long way.
Absolutely. All right, so what about you?
I mean, for the infield, there was a few coming up in the season that I had question marks on. One was Jerks and Profar, and I know Jeff Bannister kind of threw him in the outfield there, let him see, and he's been doing fine. You know, he's in the outfield again today. You know, not a strong arm, but he can catch the ball. That's what I like to see. One other name is what are they going to do with Ryan Rua?
Yeah, what are they going to do with him?
It's, you know, he can play first base. He's kind of a platoon, kind of utility guy. He was in the outfield yesterday, threw out a runner at third base, so I like that.
He's got some versatility, right?
He does. You know, you can use him at really any of the outfield positions. You can throw him in at first base if Napoli needs a day off or if Profar can't play there or something. So they have a lot of options, and it's kind of a good thing to have.
Yeah, the versatility of Rua and Profar is definitely going to be key moving on as the season goes, because like Profar can play 7 positions, except, you know, pitcher and catcher, of course.
Yeah.
But he can play anywhere. And Rua, you know, he can play out left, first, you know, anywhere that pretty much he can.
Yeah, it's always great to have those kind of guys on your roster. All right, well, what about some guys that made the roster, some names that maybe people don't really know right now but could make an impact this season?
Well, a couple names I have in mind is first Jose Leclerc. He's a young pitcher out of the bullpen. I've liked him really since day one in spring training. You know, he came out there, retired all 6 of his batters that he faced last night. You know, that he's a guy that I feel like he can be our 7th and 8th inning man coming into the season. You know, I really like him. The other one would be, I forgot the name.
Oh, all right.
Sorry,
no problem.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Leclerc is going to be key in the bullpen. Yeah, he came in, struck out 3 people over two innings. So I think, you know, if the bullpen struggles, which it did on opening night, and you know it's prone to, you know, last season it showed that the bullpen really struggled the first half of the season. I think he's going to be a great guy to have coming in at that, you know, 7th, 8th. You know, if Dyson needs a rest, you know, throw him in the 9th spot in the 9th inning. But yeah, he's going to be key anchoring the back end of that bullpen behind guys like, you know, Tony Barnett and Alex Claudio and things like that.
Absolutely. Well, let's look at this season or this series, this opening series against the Indians. Rangers are down 0-2. What's gone wrong? Is it the bullpen? Is it the pitching? Or what is it here?
You mean, so the offense has kind of tailed off as the game has gone on in both games. You know, last night they jumped out to a 5-1, or the first opening night they jumped out to the 5-1 lead. You know, Cleveland jumped out to a 3-0 lead last night, and then Texas answered with that 2-run home run by Joey Gallo. But then the offense stalled. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Cleveland's bullpen is very, very good. Yeah. Andrew Miller, you know, Brian Shaw, Boone Logan, you know, that trio right there has shut down the Rangers, you know, the first 2 games. And I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't really see a whole lot of issues right now because, you know, this is there's 160 games left to go in the season.
Exactly. So too soon to hit the panic button, I assume?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And then for me, you know, I think the bullpen right now is a little bit of an issue. You know, they've allowed 5 runs in the first 2 games. Dyson goes out there, our closer, the guy we rely on when we have the lead, he goes out there, gives up 3 runs. So I'd like to see the pitching, you know, do a little better. That's always a question mark coming into a Rangers season, playing in a hitter's ballpark.
Sure.
But
well, all right. Well, what about Darvish? I've seen his name float around. I know it's early, but trade deadline. Do you see him getting moved before the trade deadline?
I mean, it's really going to decide what the outcome of the season is going to be. If they're not in a playoff position come July 31st trade deadline, then yes, I do see him getting booted out of Texas. Yeah. It is his last year of his contract. But if he's doing fine and we're in a playoff position, I see him staying with us the rest of the way.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see them moving him unless they are completely out of it and then get something for him. Which, I mean, if he's, you know, pitches well, then obviously they'll be able to, because I mean he's been one of the best pitchers in the game for the past 5 years.
Yep.
All right, there you go. Well, let's transition quickly to football. We don't have much time left, but Tony Romo. I know you guys are Cowboys fans. Tony Romo fans. We just found out 2 days ago he's going to retire. He's not going to go play for the Texans, not going to go play for the Broncos. He's actually going to come join us in the broadcast booth at CBS. Yeah. He's got Jim Nance. He's doing some golf. He's doing some football. What do you think about it?
I like the decision. I mean, I feel like he had another 2-3 years left. Now, I get it. It's a business decision. He doesn't want to go out there and feel like his life's in danger the entire time he's playing. But I like that he's at least doing something, and being in the booth, I can't wait to watch him on TV.
Yeah, I think if you look at the big picture, you know, that's, you know, a year and a half ago, he said he couldn't even pick up his children. You know, so I think in the long term, the big picture, it's the best decision for him, for his health, so he can, you know, be with his children, able to at least hold them and not have to worry about his back giving out if he were to do that and continue playing. You know, one hit like all it took, you know, last season in preseason. All it took was
Exactly.
one hit, and he was done.
Well, he won't be taking hits in the broadcast booth. I look forward to hearing him call some games. I think he's going to do really well at it. But thank you, gentlemen. And, of course, the Rangers look to avoid getting swept tonight by the Indians. That is tonight at 7 o'clock. And we will be back in a moment with our 5-minute drill. Joining me now for our 5-minute drill is Connor Bean and Dominique Walker. And guys, we got a lot to get to. We got some track and field. Our softball team was in action over the weekend, and we got some football stuff to get to. So a lot of good things. Let's start with the track and field team. I know they had the Texas Relays over the weekend at the University of Texas in Austin.
Huge competition.
Looks like, it was a huge competition. It looks like our Mean Green broke some school records. Is that right?
Right, that's right. And the last time we talked about the Mean Green track and field team was their last event with the indoor track and field events.
Where they performed pretty well.
But the thing that stood out in this is that what we talked about the last time is that freshmen are the thing that are making the track and field team do well. And it was in this case again with Archuleta. She broke the school record for javelin throw, a record that's been in for 24 years.
Oh wow!
So that's another freshman for the track and field team that's making moves.
What's her name again? Tell me her name again.
Kristen Archuleta.
Kristen Archuleta. Way to go, Kristen. That's
yes,
pretty
and
impressive.
like I said, she's a freshman, but she's making big strides, just like multiple freshmen are on this track and field team, to bring success to the team as a whole.
Good. So we got some young blood. Anything?
Got some young blood in there. Most definitely, yeah. The freshmen definitely killing it right now. Like you said earlier, the indoor season was great for the freshmen, and we had Archuleta breaking that record for us as well. Also, I want to note sophomore Javier Lopez also broke. He had his career best mark when javelin throw. He actually had the 5th best throw in school history. So
Attaboy Javier.
impressive. We're getting there. Young crop of track and field athletes. Hopefully they'll do well in the Baylor Invitational this weekend.
And the thing that they need to work on, though, is that the team is doing really well when it comes to field events. You have the discus, the javelin, all the field events are doing really well.
Okay.
We need to work more on the actual track and the running events. That's where we
relays,
need to.
Things like
that's what the team needs to work on when they come into
Get
these.
that speed up.
Yeah, when they come into these these coming events.
All right, not a problem. All right, let's transition to the softball now. The softball team had a series over the weekend against Charlotte.
Right.
How did that go?
It was, they didn't perform their best. They finished 1-3. Right now they're 18-16 in the conference. They got SFA tonight, which is actually pretty good because we're actually 11-1 right now against teams in Texas, 8-0 over the last 8 games, 6-0 at home.
Baby,
so
sweet home.
we're getting there. We got people hitting over 400 against teams like Texas, like Lacey Greger's hitting 450. Harley Perella's hitting 432, so we're making big strides against these teams in Texas.
All right, very good. Well, let's transition to this weekend's matchup, Conference USA matchup against Southern Miss. What can we expect for the series?
This is actually going to be a very close series, in my opinion. In the Conference USA matchup, Southern Miss isn't doing too well. They're 4-8 overall. UNT's 6-6, and they're 19-18. 19-18 overall, and Southern Miss is 4-8 in conference. UNT is 6-6, so it's going to be a pretty close matchup. Southern Miss is coming off of a loss, and UNT coming off of this not so good of a weekend. Southern Miss came off of a win against a smaller school in Mississippi, and UNT coming off of this not so good weekend. They're going to have to pick up on their pitching. Pitching was a problem that UNT faced throughout the weekend. Each game this weekend, the opposing team had at least 8 runs, and that's something that they're going to have to limit if they want to have success against Southern Miss this coming weekend.
All right, very good. Now let's transition from the softball team. Remember, softball team does play tonight against SFA, and then over the weekend, Conference USA matchup against Southern Mississippi. But now let's transition to the football team. We got the spring game at Apogee this Saturday, April 8th. It's going to be a good time. Now we got some time to talk about the football team here. So what is Coach Luttrell? They had a good season last year after a tumultuous season the year before. They go 5-7, Heart of Dallas Bowl. They don't get the win, but hey, anytime you get to a bowl game, it's still a pretty solid year. And in your coach's first year, right, at the school. So what has Luttrell and his staff done in this offseason to hopefully take another step for next year?
Well, I think, they try to reach out and get some better recruits in here that went to the JUCO level and in high school level. One of the guys I'm looking out for is Tyreek Davis from Den Ryan. He was a beast in high school.
Yes, he was over at Den Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, what position is he?
Well, he played running back and linebacker in high school, but I think he's going to play some safety.
Okay.
I think so. Hopefully, he'll have a hard-hitting guy back there.
Yeah, he was a stud at Ryan.
He was great, man. You know, actually, and then Jalen Guyton, who actually played at Notre Dame, went to JUCO for 1 semester. He's coming in here, probably going to make the starting rotation in receivers. We had a lot of people graduating, like Kenny Byers, T. Gorey going to SFA. So
that's right.
I think he might crack that starting position
and
as well.
And you said he started at Notre Dame, went to a junior college, and now he's finishing up here with the Mean Green?
I don't know if he started at Notre Dame, but I know he went to Trinity Valley and started over there and did pretty good.
And Jalen Guyton was actually a player who I was going to talk about as well, who I feel is going to make a big impact on the team coming into this next season. He's a player who, during practice, if you visit the practices, you always hear him talking. He's a very vocal player. He likes to get into his opponent's head, but he can back it up. Like he has the quickness to separate in his routes and make open field for catches. And with him and along with Turner Smiley in the receiving core, O'Kee, Rutherford, like those are going to be players who you're going to have to look for whenever you look at UNT's passing game.
Tyler Wilson as well. I'm expecting to see him improve that he did last year. He had a great game at the Heart of Dallas Bowl, so I think he's going to do a lot better things this year too.
Okay, well, we've talked about the receivers a lot. What's kind of the strength of this team, do you think, going into it? I know Dominique, you've been out at the practices, watching it. What do you see some of the strengths of this team? Some of the strengths
this year, which I'm actually surprised to see, is the receiver core. The receiver core was something that it was used a lot during this past season, especially with the new quarterback coming in, the young quarterbacks. But when it comes to quarterbacks, though, I think a person that you're going to have to watch for is going to be Quinn Shambor as well. You've seen last year that Mason Fine had a little bit of injuries, and just in case they do have the backup in Quinn Shambor, who's been here for 3 years and he has that experience, and he's making moves to be a person who can make a good replacement in case Fine goes down.
Well, Mean Green and Dallas Cowboys fans know how important it is to have a backup
exactly.
Right? All right, very good. Well, thank you, gentlemen. The spring game, remember the North Texas spring football game is at Apogee Stadium on Saturday. And that'll do it for our 5-minute drill, and that'll do it for today's show. So thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at NT SportsZone, and we'll see you right back here next week.